And so the answer to our fourth question for this presentation is, of course, C, the Molten IV58L leather ball, commonly referred to as the Super Touch. It says that right on the ball. And maybe a better question, too, might be, how do you know? Where does it say that this is a requirement? And the answer is in a document referred to as the Tournament Bulletin. There's one put out for each sport before the season starts. And if you're looking for this document, you go to the MPSSAA website. There's a menu item at the top that says Info Center. You pull down that menu. One of the pull downs will be pubs. I think it says pubs and information or something like that. In that menu setting, you'll find the MPSSAA handbook and also the tournament bulletins in 3 groups for each of the seasons. There's a fall tournament bulletin set, then spring, and then winter, and then spring. And that's what you'll find. The sports are arranged alphabetically in each of these books with the tournament bulletins. Volleyball's all the way at the end of the fall. And, there's a lot of good information there. Let's see. Specifically, that's where it says that the home team selects their bench, that we're not switching sides, that the home team gets the first 6 at the net. It specifies the dates for the state semifinal and final. And the document isn't published, but I expect that to be semifinals on Tuesday, the 11th of November, and it'll be at 4 sites throughout the state. And then the finals will be on the 15th of November at the APG Arena in Hartford Community College. Let's see. Yeah, interesting about this rule, though. It only says the Molten Super Touch IV58L leather ball. Doesn't specify the color. Now, I can tell you once we get to the state semifinals and the tournament committee is supplying the balls, they'll be red, white, and black. And that's what you can expect. But if a school has got the Molten Super Touch in their school colors, perfectly acceptable. Now, a couple things to review as points of emphasis. We earlier talked about contrasting numbers, okay? And it's important that we have both contrasting numbers and then, of course, same words in the rule, contrasting libero jerseys. Both those sections of the rule book say that there must be a clear contrast. That's libero jersey to the regular player jerseys and the number to the body of the jersey behind the number. They both say the same thing, clearly contrast. That's the key. Okay, so why? Well, first of all, you got to remember for your poor libero tracker, that young person, most likely, is going to have to see the libero coming in, even if they're not looking specifically at the team who's doing a libero replacement. It should be a different enough color that movement of a different colored jersey catches their eye. Similarly, you as the first referee and the second referee assisting have to be sure that it is unambiguous that the person who's in that funny colored jersey isn't doing anything illegal, like setting with hands from the front zone to a player who then subsequently attacks the ball when it's completely above the height of the net. It shouldn't be, is that the libero? It's kind of purplish as opposed to her teammates that are in black. It should stand out that the libero is doing something not in accordance with the rules, and you should have to think too hard about which player was that again. Additionally, for the numbers, you have to be able to see alignment faults, and maybe you do it by what the player looks like, but for most of us, we use numbers. And of course, you need numbers to be clearly contrasting because half the time the players are in some kind of leaning forward crouch and you really can't see a number that isn't extremely contrasting. Sometimes you can't see it anyway, but you have your best shot if the number clearly contrasts with the jersey. Of course, same thing for rotation faults. That poor scorekeeper has to make sure that the right server is back there so that the number of the player who goes back to serve has to be easily identifiable from the score at the score table by their number, which must contrast with the jersey. So those are some of the reasons why this is a point of emphasis. This slide perhaps is more aimed at the coaches. It gives some tips for color combinations. I guess it's in the presentation for us as officials too, because when you tell a coach, your contrast is marginal, they'll say, well, what do you need? And people send me jerseys to look at all the time, and this is the kind of guidance I give them as well. And it's pretty straightforward. If the uniform itself is light colored, like white, well, the body of the number should be dark. Even black would be great. On the other hand, if the jersey is dark, the body of the number should be light or even white. And sometimes teams like really cool multicolor jerseys, and of course that makes it hard to have contrast, and it also limits what you can have as a libero jersey as well as a number, because maybe the number only contrasts at part of the jersey because they've got multicolors on the front. So this is advice for coaches, but we're the ones that are going to ask. Now, hopefully everybody's clear. We've talked about it. Why the play pick all the way on the left, that number 28, is illegal. It's white on white. You can only see the number at all because of the border. The border doesn't make it legal. The one in the middle and the one all the way on the right, both legal. And there was a question about the border, that the border itself is illegal. No, 6 there is perfectly legal, even though there's, I guess, a kind of a teal border around that number 6. That's just trim, and that's fine. Perfectly legal for both 18 and 6. Now, a couple things I should point out. I already talked about this is the only location for the number on the front in 2029. There is a rule on uniform numbers that will be implemented in 2028. Currently, that number 6 could be 06, because a preceding 0 is legal for this coming season. It's not until 2028 where 6 cannot or any single-digit number is going to be restricted from having a preceding 0. So that's other things. I've never in the state of Maryland seen a preceding 0, so I don't think that's going to affect us too much. But maybe in one of your counties, you have that at one of your schools. And so let's review the authentication mark changes from last year. Remember, up at the top here on the left, there was a small NFHS with this kind of trademark thing. That was, and continues to be, the mark that you can use to determine if a ball is legal. Very recently, last year, the NFHS, the Federation of High School, came up with this other trademark that they're going to be putting on balls. And you can see for inflatable balls, this is a pretty big mark. These two graphics here aren't to scale. That thing's going to be 2.5 inches long on the ball. And so here's some examples of both the trademarks that you need to look for to determine legality of balls during the regular season. Once we start the playoff bracket, additional requirements here in Maryland, but this is the ball we're playing with. And remember that the dimpled ball with the non-regular patterned panels, not legal this year. They will become legal next year, in which case you'll find one of these two. Actually, it'll be the new one, quite sure, the new trademark on the ball. And for those of you who referee other sports, you may have noticed when I blew through one of the earlier slides, for inflatable balls, the size of the NFHS logo will be 2.5 inches in length. For non-inflatable balls, because they're smaller, the size will be 1.25. And finally, a big thank you to everyone. First, for putting up with listening to me for almost an hour. I hope some of my ramblings you'll find useful, but more importantly, for facilitating and growing the sport of volleyball in the state of Maryland. I hope to see many of you on the court this season. I should point out that if I don't run into you and you have some sort of question, part of my job description says I'm supposed to answer them. 2 ways to get in touch with me. You can go through your local association leadership. They all have my contact information. Or you can come to me directly. My phone number and email are on the MPSSAA website. all the way on the far right under officials, at one of the bottom menu items has my contact information. And I'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you and have a great season.